All right, we are ready to get started. And let me just make sure I got everything going on here. Today, I don't have anybody sitting in Bill's seat. It's me. I have asked for some assistance today to facilitate the call with Griff and with Matt. Griff, if you would be available to unmute yourself so that you could co-host with me, that would be great. And if you could watch over the chat, that would be fabulous. Bill tends to cover a lot more of the loan signings, even though I do that kind of work. And so I wanted to have some balance with somebody who has a stronger presence in that area. So let's get started. First of all, my name is Laura Biewer, and I'm going to be your co-host today for TNT. Bill's having a day off. I have a couple of introductions and announcements, and then we'll get going. First of all, if you're not aware that my real world training for Texas is coming up this Saturday, and I have about 10 seats left. They really kind of flew out the door. We just put it out this last week. So if that's something that you're in Texas and you're interested specifically for Texas law, how to build your confidence and competence in that, go to coachmelora.com/TX, lowercase, TX for Texas. And I would love to have you join Bill and I this Saturday. Those of you who are on the call that are California and you're in my second session of Real World for California, that sold out in 48 hours. So I'm sorry, I don't have any more seats for that. The other announcement is tomorrow, I'm going to have a special Zoom call that's going to talk about a case study in adversity. And it's a part 2 of one I did back in December with Phil Shannon, where I talked about what happens when adversity comes your way. And in my case, it was a hit and run and then a stolen purse a couple weeks apart. And how do you deal with that, right? And keep your business going, keep your family life going. So I'm going to talk about that because we had a very small limitation on the room. I didn't realize. And a lot of people said, I didn't get to hear anything. So I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to update it because there's been some things since then. And the link I'm going to use is the one that Bill posts every week, but you can find it on notarycoach.com/the TNT page. At the bottom is Phil Shannon's link. That's the link I'm going to use because it's a bigger one. So if you're interested at 10 a.m. Pacific Coast time tomorrow, join me. And we're going to talk about how do we deal when adversity hits us. And it's going to hit us in a lot of different ways. All right. So, and then Matt, are you on the line? Are you on the call?
Yes. Hello, Laura.
Hi. Would you talk about HOA elections coming up for your group?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. For those who don't know me, my name is Matt Miller with the California League of Independent Notaries. And we are hosting an HOA income opportunity training event for California notaries on March the 27th. This event will be available for free to paid members of the CLIN, and then non-paid members may join for just $40. However, if you are a member, you get access to the replay indefinitely, along with all the host of other benefits of being a league member. Also, this coming Sunday, March 13th, Laura and I will be talking about the HOA event and what to expect and ask some questions. The course will be taught by our very own Laura Biewer, who has been working in this new field for California notaries for the past couple of years, and is eager to share with us all of her knowledge and experience and success, because we think that this will be a growing trend for California notaries for years to come. So looking forward to that. Also, I'll be here for the duration for questions. Thanks, Laura, and thanks for everyone for stopping by today.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate your help today. Okay, now one more. I need an introduction for Griff. Griff, would you take it away and tell us about yourself?
Sounds good. Thank you. Hey, I'm Stephen Griffin. I'm out here in Virginia Beach, Virginia, the Hampton Roads area. Griffin Notary Services. Been kicking it as a loan signing agent with Bill and Laura for the last 4 years. I just submitted my renewal for my notary commission and everything. Got that and just paid for my new to do my NNA again for this upcoming year. Y'all can find me on YouTube on the Griffin Notary Services. I'm here to help to the best of my ability to keep y'all focused on what you rose your hand to do, which was to follow your state laws, because you got to do that first, and then everything else will fall in line. Do that first, what you raise your hand to, and everything else will fall in line. Back to you, Laura.
Thanks. Stephen, I heard the Clubhouse conversation last night about training. It was very interesting to hear the different opinions from different experiences, people who are trainers, who aren't trainers, yourself. Yeah. So it was good conversation, good for everybody to have a chance to talk about that. But the ultimate message for it was, however you get trained, know your job, be competent and confident at your state laws before you worry about how I'm going to get other jobs. That's where it starts, right? And then you actually start to have some value because you know what you're doing and you don't mess up somebody's work. All right, so today, it's like every other Tuesday, we're going to take questions, just like an old-fashioned radio call-in show. Please introduce yourself and your state. Your state is very important so that we don't give you information that is contradictory to your state laws, number one. And then number two, give us your question. If either one of us need a little more background information, we'll ask for it. And that way we can just move along and try to hit everybody's questions in a timely manner. And we're going to start with Gia. Would you please unmute yourself?
Thank you. I'm from California. Thank you, Laura, for all the value you always add. I hope you get all your blessings back 1,000-fold for everything that you do for us. Really appreciate it. Quick question. I have two. The first one, I work with a particular company, signing service. I won't say the name, but I am finding that 25% of the time, the documents are not correct in some form. And so I end up catching it normally, but what happens is I need to reprint a lot of times, and then I have to shred the old documents. So first two questions, what should I be charging for the reprint and the shredding? And is that like something that's very common for 25% of the time for the documents to be incorrect?
All right, and Gina, what state are you in?
Southern California, LACA.
California. Okay, great. So I'm going to tell you how I handle it, and then I'm going to ask Griff to also put in his 2 cents. So first of all, it's not my experience that it's 25% of the time, but it is my experience that it comes up. And when it does, and I catch it, and they say, can you please reprint this and pull this out and shred this? I do it as part of the job. I personally don't charge unless I'm reprinting the whole entire set of documents. For me, it's part of that thing that differentiates me as a notary for them. I price myself correctly, and that way, if something does come up, it's not a big deal for me. If I'm taking a job that isn't well paid to begin with, then it starts to get irritating if I have to shred and print other documents. So I'm not sure what your particular case is, but for me, my experience is it does come with the territory. So Griff, why don't you share how you handle that? Griff, you unmuted?
All right. Yeah, title company was calling me at the same time just before you said, all right, I just got them on hold real brief. All right. What Laura said is correct. I know some notaries will say, if I'm constantly getting some issues with this company and it's becoming too much of a problem, then I may have to pull back from them and not do anything. Just as I have a company that always sends me 15 to 18 individual pages for their documents. One page, 4 page, 1 page. I don't mess with them anymore. The pay is okay, But when you're doing 4 to 6, so you got to look at, is this is going to interfere with my ability to get stuff done quickly? If I'm doing 1 or 2 a day, cool. But if I'm doing 3, 4, 5 a day, that's just too much to be dealing with, going back and forth and all of that. For the pricing, I'll just leave it. I wouldn't really charge them extra for it or anything. Now, if they ask me, then I just say, well, whatever you feel is fair, because I know there's notaries who try to overcharge and everything. So I'm trying to sort of make myself look better than those other notaries by saying, I'll take what your customary fee is if they offer that, and mainly focus on getting the job done.
Thank you, Griff. All right, I hope that was helpful. Gia, was that helpful? I see your.
That was very helpful. And then the second question, maybe somebody can put this down in the transcript chat. I'm trying to add my NNA logo and other logo to my Gmail signature line. So if somebody can just tell me real quick how to do that in the chat, that would be great. Thank you so much, Griff and Laura, for your input. Have a great day.
You're welcome. And thanks for that question. And if you know how to do what Gia just asked for, please put it in the chat for her, because that is not my expertise at all. All right. Thank you, Gia. Lower the hand. All right. Let's go to Kristen. Is Kristen next?
Yes. Hey, how's it going?
Kristen, I am good. So how can we be of service to you today?
I'm in California, and I'm just coming up on a full year of doing notary services, and I do it part-time. And I've discovered or learned that I don't like doing loans. I really love the general notary work. Just keeping it real. So what I'm thinking is, why do I need to go and take the test from the NNA to just work with like the two people, the 2 signing services that I'm going to take the random loan signing service? What are your thoughts on that? And do I really need to take it?
So here's the deal about the NNA. It's not so much about the testing as it is the background screen. That is nationally recognized. And you may find that the 2 that you work for may need that. And that's what that's about. The fact that they put together the test, you don't have to do the test. You don't have to certify if you don't want to, but they put together the 2, and it's the background screen that is the most important. If you get clients,
There's a lot of background noise.
Yeah, that's not mine. Where is that? Somebody, please mute if you're not muted, except for me and Kristen. Because we're getting a lot of, okay, something got better there. Okay, so
it's a package deal,
so anyways,
basically.
Yeah, if you get them, it's because they may require it, not because you're trying to go out there and compete with other notaries. So it just might be a minimum requirement. Now, if you're only working for a couple and they don't require it, well, then no, then you don't need it. You don't need it to do the work. You need it to have the most opportunity for the most number of clients who require it.
Yeah, and I could go to a different company for a background check.
You can.
Yeah, okay.
You can, if they'll accept a different one. There are 2 or 3. It's just that with the NNA one, then you don't have to worry about, are they going to accept it or not?
Gotcha.
That's really it. All right.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Kristen, thanks for asking your question. Let's go to, is it Jamie? You can unmute yourself.
Yep, here I
And
am.
what state are you in, Jamie?
I am in California right now, but in a week and a half, I'll be moving to South Carolina.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm getting ready to resign and re-up there. So my question is, and then we may be moving to North Carolina. So in terms of loan signing, is there a better state to get commissioned in? What are your thoughts on that?
So I'll answer, and then I'm going to ask for Griff to add because he's over on that side of the world. So South Carolina is what we call attorney state.
Right.
So it just means, all it means is that they use attorneys to close their deals, right? And you're going to do a lot more work with them. Whereas North Carolina, loan signings, you're still working mostly with title and escrow.
So it's an escrow state. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, in both states, you can do loan signings. It's who you're working with, right? And who you're going
Okay.
to market to. That's really the big difference that I understand. So, but I'm on the West Coast. Griff, do you have something you can add or correct to that?
So you're saying what's the best states to
Like
work
in
in?
terms of income, is an escrow state going to be better than an attorney state? Because I'm coming from an
North
escrow
Carolina,
state.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
It depends on how each state runs their business. I mean, it all depends, because I always share that to me, it always starts with the loan officer, because in order for you to have a closing, there has to be a loan officer trying to get somebody in that state, in that area, to do a loan. So it's not like they're just floating around. When we become a notary, there's these closings that's just floating in the air and we can just grab them and say, okay, I'm gonna do one. It all starts with the loan officer who's marketing and trying to get business in that area, as well as the real estate agent who's trying to do the purchase and the sales. So if those people, the real estate agent and the loan officer, aren't on their job getting clients to say, yes, I want to borrow money from some entity, there's not going to be a closing. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
No, I totally
So-
understand that. Like
Right.
here I go to escrow companies and I market myself. So in South Carolina, do I just go to attorneys and market myself the same way? And is it the same process? It's just with an attorney versus an escrow?
I mean, you could. It all depends. But when you're in their office, it all depends on their business model and how they're doing things.
Okay.
Because when I market to the title companies here, they're like, we got our own people in here. We don't want to see y'all. So it all depends on how they operate. Then there's one title company that's like, okay, Griff, I'll use you, but I only get 1 or 2 a month from them.
Got it.
But then I can get 5 or 10 from the company that don't want to work with me directly, but they go through signing companies.
Right.
So it all depends on how they want to flow. And lastly, one of the things that I found out was that in one company, one lady told me, she said, the reason why we don't really use mobile notaries for as my area, she said, because we've had problems with mobile notaries coming in or saying they're going to do the work for us and not showing up, or being overbooked. And because they're sitting there and they're waiting on the borrower or something, they'll leave and we're stuck. So we don't feel like dealing with that. So the past experience of other notaries with that particular entity could affect what you're doing. So that's hopefully other notaries in your area being great notaries. Therefore, you will have they'll have a good experience and then be happy to use you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to add, Jamie, 2 things. One is that Samantha Smith, do you know who she is? She's actually a Georgia notary who works in an attorney state.
Okay.
And she has really helped develop how to work well. What kind of approaches do you have with attorneys versus, an escrow office? And if you Google her name, Samantha Smith, Georgia notary.
Okay.
I would reach out to her because she also has some YouTube videos about how to do that. And
Okay.
she's very, very knowledgeable and supportive of other notaries. The second thing I want to add is North Carolina is not friendly for specialty work or general work, because there's a $5 maximum. They're not allowed to charge a penny more than that, no matter what. So you're not going to make any money on that, but there are many other things you could do, such as apostille work and other types of jobs that are not regulated by the Secretary of State. But be aware that general notary work, $5, that's it.
In North Carolina.
In North Carolina, right?
Okay.
And they don't have that in South Carolina. It's not regulated. They can have their travel fees set however they want.
Okay. Okay, great.
Okay.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Let me, Jamie. Phil, you're coming on. I thought you were over there in Hawaii.
I am. Does anyone want to see the beautiful view? No, I won't share that one. Won't pick on anybody. But I'm in Hilo and it's absolutely gorgeous. But I know you and I are doing something together. I think you probably already talked about it. I'll let you hit on that. But I do want to invite folks. We are going to talk a little bit more detail about the cybersecurity stuff we do in today's presentation. So if you want to find out how we can protect your devices, the VPN, the Trend Micro, some of the new things that we have put out, we're just excited about those things, especially in your community. As you know, Laura, the new identity theft part of our program, we're very excited about that. And that is, as always, right after TNT. And then Laura and I have some fun in store for everybody tomorrow as well. We're really looking forward to that. So Laura, back to you.
Thanks, Phil. I did announce that we're going to be talking about a case study in adversity part 2 tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and that we're going to be using the same Zoom link that normally you would use after the TNT call that is posted. And if they don't have it, they can get it at the bottom of the notarycoach.com/TNT landing page. And I hope that they join us to hear about, how we approach adversity and what kind of tools we should have to get through that. So thanks for joining us. All right, Cassandra. Cassandra, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, thank you. I'm from Washington, D.C., and I also have a commission in Virginia.
Okay.
DC uses an embosser only. We can't use just a regular stamp. And when I stamp the document on the left or bottom of the document, the seal reads okay. But when the only place to stamp is on the right side, it's upside down. And I have to use my own juret, or the juret, for a DC, or the juret or acknowledgement, and attach it. Any ideas of different ways to handle this?
So I see she's Virginia.
But it's Washington.
Oh, but
it's Washington that I have the question about, Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Because Virginia, you use a stamp, but DC, you have to use an embosser.
Okay, so I get you have to use an embosser. The part I'm not quite getting is how it's getting upside down.
Because like if you hold the document and the only place on the particular certificate area is on the right side, when you use the embosser, can you see my hand? When you use the embosser, it's the seal is upside down, whereas on the left or bottom, it is in the correct position.
Well, is it rejected because it's upside down? Because the law doesn't say anything about right side up or upside down.
Interesting. I get calls back from signing agents saying, sign order companies saying your seal is upside down on this page. Please attach a juret or acknowledgement.
Okay,
Laura,
so
can I jump in?
To the direction of the seal, because it doesn't have any ink. It's just the impression on it. But you know what? Maybe because of DC, it's a little more important for you. Griff, do you use an embosser?
Yeah, I bet he doesn't.
No, I don't use an embosser, and I was gonna say I've never been told that it had to be right side up or whatever.
Laura, can I jump in?
Hold on. Let Griff finish, and then I can let you. Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, from the standpoint, just to get it through, since they're willing to accept the attached certificate, then I would just do that and call it a day, unless you just don't want to add the attached certificate and all of that, because some of these signing companies, unless they can quote an actual statute or something to tell you why, or if it's just company policy, or they just may not know and they've been told internally it always has to be this way, and they're just doing the assembly line of right side up, upside down. That's a bad thing, and all of that. Back to you, Laura.
Thanks, Griff. So if you already know it's an issue, then I might just start with the certificate. But all right, I'm going to let you jump in. Is it Cornica?
It is Cornica.
Okay.
And I think Matt had put this in the chat as well. My husband, we lived in DC for like 2.5, 3 years. He was a notary there. His embosser has a rotatable metal plate thing. And I think that is what Matt had said in the chat, is he had one where you could rotate your seal so that it was right side up. He faced the same problem with whether the notarization went on the left or the right. You just rotate the seal. So I think it might be with your embosser. If you don't want to attach an additional certificate, you can find an embosser that has a rotatable seal.
What a great idea. Mine is not rotatable, so that's why, but I've never had anybody because the embosser is in addition to my formal stamp, which is right side up and inked. But the additional embossment, I've never had anybody complain that it's this side, because I just find where the white space is and I do it. So I didn't even know that they had one with the rotatable head. So that's a great idea.
Good, good. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for jumping in there. And thank you, Cassandra. All right. Is it Andrea?
Yes.
Andrea, what state are you in?
Hi, I'm in California.
Beautiful. How can we help you?
I just wanted to know, when you got your office, did that help you build your business even more? Like, was it more attractive when you went in to market yourself to title companies?
So for me, yes, it did grow my business, but it didn't grow title companies. Where it grew my work was in specialty work, because attorneys love that I had my own office. When I was doing trust work and they wanted a place other than their own office for it to take place without them, that I wouldn't have to go to the home to do it. So that really expanded my business that way. The other way it expanded it is just in the Google searching. There's more credence given when you have a bricks and mortar address than a PO box. So
Okay.
that was another way that I got helped, is in my visibility. So those are the two ways. So maybe it helped a little bit with title, but I really had my title business really going strong before I got the office.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Let's see, Andrea. There we are. Forehand. Okay, Tracy in Arizona.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for letting me ask a quick question. So it's a general notary question.
Huh?
I have a friend that's a notary as well. She went into a hospital to notarize a document. The patient was the person that was the signer, and she was hesitant, obviously, about signing whatever document. But our concern is when you go into a hospital, how can you ask if the patient is medicated before you even go in? Like, so a nurse called her and the notary to come in, because if they're medicated on medication, can you technically sign? Are they competent enough to sign a document?
Yeah. So Tracy, you know what? There's a lot of if stuff going on. First of all, if I'm contacted by a nurse or social services, I will ask immediately, are they alert and aware enough to be signing legal documents? They don't have to tell me that they're on medication. They don't have to tell me what their disease process is or anything else. All I need to know is there a medical opinion that would prevent them from signing documents? So that's how I do that. Also, if the family calls me, I'm going to ask if they say it's a hospital. Are they taking medications? I don't want to know what it is, but if they are taking them and it could make them loopy or too sleepy, that they're not alert and aware for me, then we want to make sure that the timing of that is as far away as possible from the last dose, so that I don't have that issue when I'm there. Ultimately, if I go to that appointment and I find that they are not alert and aware enough in my judgment as the notary at that moment in time, I can refuse to perform it. And I can also ask for my travel fee. But I let people know up front that if they're not alert and aware when I get there, then here's what would happen.
Okay.
All right. And you know what? Even though I ask,
yeah,
sometimes it still happens.
Right.
Sometimes it still happens. And sometimes it's not in their control that it happened. And if I see it wasn't in their control, then I won't charge the service fee. And that's just business, a cost of doing business for me. Sometimes that happens.
Right. I just didn't know if the best way to approach or say, are they medicated? I mean, because you could go into a signing to somebody's house and they could be on pain medicine, and
Well, that's true. And not all pain medicine is equal.
Right.
There's a difference between a pain reliever and morphine. So there's a lot to take in consideration. And so rather than worry about what they're taking, the question should be, are they alert and aware? Is there anything that would prevent them from being able to sign legal documents?
Okay.
That's the direction I would go. Griff, do you handle general notary work, specialty work?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
That's the same thing that I do. I make sure the main thing also I found out that I have to really reemphasize is that they have the IDs at the
Yes.
hospital.
Right.
Because I've gone, one lady, she had she had a parachuting accident. She parachuting and crashed and basically darn near broke all the bones in her body. I go out there to do this here refinance, and they're like, oh, the boyfriend took her ID with him back to the house an hour away.
Yeah.
And everything. So, but yeah, I always ask them, are they lucid? Do they, they can't? And I've been in situations where the person couldn't even hold the pen,
Mhm.
and they put the pen in their hand and it just dropped. I was like, can't do it and everything. And then the lady said, well, we'll just go ahead on and talk to the judge and get the judge to issue a special power of attorney for us for her. And that's how they did it. And they paid me anyway. I didn't even ask for it, to pay, because I mean, it was a bad situation,
Yeah.
but they went ahead on and paid me anyway.
Yeah, sometimes people are really nice about that. When I've decided I'm not going to charge, and I say, it's fine, I get it, this happens. Call me when the situation changes. They'll say, well, can I at least pay you, something for your time? And no, just call me back the next time when I see it's like that. But something that, what Griff was saying about the ID is that when I do specialty work, I have an intake form. And that intake form has questions that I answer for myself. Is this for themselves? Is this for somebody else? It's for somebody else. So I'm not talking to the signer. I have a lot more questions to ask because I'm not talking to the signer. Can they sign legal documents? Do they have valid ID? And what does that mean in my state? For me, that means I need this, that, or the other thing. Is there any special requirements if I have to go into a skilled facility or a hospital? I've had skilled facilities make me take a COVID test at the door before they'll let me, even though I'm vaccinated and I got the card and the whole 9 yards, they will make me do that on the spot, and they don't even give it to you. I have to bring my own. So you want to make sure you do a good job of scoping out, all the things that could go wrong with a notarization in that environment, so that you've got a heads up on what's happening.
Great. Thank you. Those are all great tips. I appreciate it.
All right. You're welcome. Thanks for checking in with us. All right. Next, is it Chris? In Southern California?
Yes, hello, it's
There
Chris.
you go.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm new at doing notaries, and as a mobile notary, what is the best way to set up and accept payments other than cash?
Sure. There's lots of ways. There's merchant services, which means you could use the merchant service through the bank you have it. So for instance, I have a Chase account. I have the merchant services because I get less fees when it's going into my account. I also use a Square because I have that to begin with. That's when I started my business. It was very inexpensive to get the reader. Now they're Bluetooth for the cards, and it's very easy to work through. The other one that I use is Stripe. That's another one. So those are all merchant services, credit cards. There is Zelle and Venmo and other ways to also take in other than cash. Just make sure for those other methods like Zelle and Venmo and PayPal that you're getting those receipts, because the IRS is watching that stuff stronger now, because they weren't trackable before. And so they're watching us for that. But those are all ways that you can take it. And of course, I take checks from my signing services. I'll take checks from a business. I don't take checks from individuals, but I'll take them from businesses. So you got cash, you got checks, and then you got all those different merchant services. Does that do it for you?
That does it. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. Okay, Randy. Gosh, Randy, it feels like forever since I've spoken to you.
Yeah, I've been listening, and I've got a whole bunch of questions for the next few weeks. I've been listening more, and I've been busy during T&Ts. 2 questions related to the oaths at the so I'm in Washington, and I do a statement at the beginning that I ask them to swear, affirm that, or attest or affirm that they are them, that they are the signer. And I go through the whole spiel of things that I say. One is I had a signing the other day that the lady was very hard of hearing, and her daughter was helping her, and her daughter was basically every time that I said something, her daughter was yelling it at her so she would understand. When I do the oath at the beginning, is it okay if I show them a piece of paper and they read it and then acknowledge that they've read it and that they are that person?
So the oath is a verbal promise of truthfulness. However, there are accommodations. For instance, I work with the deaf, and I sometimes have to work with writing notes back and forth. And so I would say, yes, you could write it down. They could read it, and then they could respond to that, which would be better than having a third party repeating your words, because it needs to be directly between you and your signer. So unless there is something in your state that specifically says it can only be a verbal response or a verbal presentation of the oath, then I would say yes, if that's how you can communicate directly with that signer.
Okay, and that kind of, I think that maybe answers my second question. Every couple of months, I have one that I need a translator for, and either the translator is a family member, a spouse, or an adult child, or they're a real estate agent, and usually it's like Cantonese or some form of Chinese or Spanish. When I do the oath at the beginning, would it be wise of me to have my oath translated into a couple of different languages and then be able to read that versus relying on a translator to translate what that oath says?
So Randy, I'm not aware that you're allowed to use a translator in Washington. Is your state allow for a translator between the notary and the signer?
I've been told yes.
You've been told yes. So and I would have to jump on my resources to verify that, but I would verify that if I were you, because there's very few states that allow for a translator between the notary and the signer. So as long as your state statutes address that and it says, yes, here are the provisions, here's how you do it, okay, then you're going to follow those provisions and or administrative rules if your Secretary of State has developed any to do it in that manner. And then, yeah, if you're doing that, you might want to have the oath in a couple different languages that you probably handle over and over again. But my concern is just verifying that you're allowed to use a translator in the first place.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Randy. Soraya?
Hello. Can you hear me? Hi. I have a quick question. I know in California, we're not allowed to touch the I-9 form, but if I were to get like a 9-to-5 job, let's say in human resources, where it's required that you fill it out for new employees, would the commission prevent me from being able to do that?
No, if you're an employee, a W-2 employee of an HR department, and that's part of your job as an employee, then you may do it. You just may not do it outside of that.
Okay, and my second question is there a specific training you would recommend for someone who wants to become an immigration consultant so that I can do it under my commission outside of the 9-to-5?
So in California, you might want to go, there are a couple that I know of, but I've taken the NNA training for immigration consultant. There is a very hefty bond. It's for 2 years. It's $100,000 bond, which is around $2,000 to $2,500, if you didn't know. But they will teach you about the advertising requirements and the main documents that are asked for using the USCIS website. And I think it'll be a good start for you.
Okay. Would you ever consider doing a course in that in the future for California notaries?
Because I took the training with the NNA because I was going to do it for them. But you know what, I just really have too much on my plate right now. So I would say if it was going to happen, it wouldn't even be for a year or more. So I would go with them to get that foundation. They have a lot of great handouts that they give with that class as well. I think they do it in person and online.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
All right, you're welcome. And D&D,
Hi, Laura. This is Deborah Gardner in Cordova, Tennessee. How are you?
Deborah,
I don't know why it popped up like that today.
what's
But
going on?
I did my first loan application packet on Friday, and I was surprised to discover it didn't have any notarizations. Do you record this in your journal anyway as reference that you were at their house, or no, because it's not a notarized?
So I have two answers for you, and then we'll see if Griff has something he wants to add. So my first answer, it doesn't belong in the notary journal because you did not notarize anything. So that's not where it goes. However, you might want to keep a separate journal that's not for official notarizations, that is for other work you do that would have a record of that for you. Of course, your bookkeeping system is you're going to have a financial record that way. But if you want something like a notary journal that would say, hey, I was here at this date, this time, this is who I met with, this is the kind, I did a loan application, whatever the details are, then I think that's perfectly fine to do that. So Griff, do you have anything you want to add to that?
The fact that I'm glad you did the loan application, because so many notaries act like they can't do them because they're not paying them $2.6 million per page and all of that. But the loan application is a wonderful way to get recognized by the signing company. I personally believe that sometimes they try to test new notaries out to see where you're at, because if you say nah to the loan application, but you tearing the phone up every time they put out a refi for 150, they're like, okay, well, we see where your mind is at. So I love loan applications. It also indicates to you that there's people applying for a loan, which means there could be a closing for you.
That's right.
In a couple of weeks. And if you do well enough, and I'm telling you, if you do good with them and you get a real good connection with that signer, and a lot of times they actually say, well, okay, do you know how long this is going to take? And I said, well, normally 4 to 6 weeks. And I said, and they may send me back out. And they're like, oh, it's not going to be you. And then I said, well, that's up to you. If you want me to come back out, I will make sure my schedule is clear. You let them know. Boom. So I'm not begging and saying, you better pick me. I'm having a conversation and letting them know that, hey, you could have some random guy that ain't me coming. And they're like, well, no, we want you. And I know I've had multiple times that's happened. I've never recorded anything for us keeping track of it. But I love loan applications. And yes, everybody, there's nothing to notarize in there. And the only time I think there might be, which I've heard that never has happened, is if there's some kind of power of attorney for like a spouse, that's supposed to be doing the signing because their spouse is gone overseas or whatever. I've heard of that. I've never seen it, like they did a power of attorney and on LegalZoom or whatever. And they're like, hey, can you do this also? And, and all of that. But other than that, I've never had any notarizations for a loan application.
Right. I haven't either. And I saw Matt posted a comment, which I thought was really a good observation, because it's been my experience is that when I do the loan apps, I'm usually the first go-to to come back. They like having that consistency to send the same person back. And so that is one of the reasons that I like doing the loan application, is that it generally means that they're going to look to me unless I'm unavailable to go back to those people. But back to your question, if you want to keep a record, there's nothing preventing you. Just don't do it in the notary journal.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for those encouraging words. I have one other question. The lender asked me, and this was a first request too, to send everything back via email. And I was not comfortable doing that. I much prefer to upload to the signing company's portal because it's encrypted. What encryption email are notaries using to protect NPPI?
So Matt's saying our records, is our records still up and everything's good with them, or something changed? Because I thought ourrecords.com, that was the one that Carol recommended. I have an account with them, but I haven't had to use it in quite some time. Is there anything else? Did anybody have in the chat any other company other than ourrecords.com?
I know you can put a password using Adobe if you have the full version.
Yeah.
You can put a password on the full version of Adobe using Adobe Acrobat. What I would suggest is you scan it, make a copy of that scan, and the second copy password protect that, because you do not want to password protect. I mean, you have the documents, but just in case you forget the password
Right.
and everything, and you still have the original scan. And that happened to me one time when I was just testing it out. I did the password, forgot to write it down, came back the next morning, and I was like, dang, so you don't want that to happen.
Oh, I do have Adobe DC. I did not know you could put a password protect
Yeah.
on.
I have
that's
it
wonderful.
too. Yes, you can. Also in the chat, somebody put protomail.com as encrypted
Okay.
email. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much.
whoever wrote that in the chat. I didn't catch that. All right. Celicia.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, what's up?
Wow. I don't even know where to start. Oh, prepare documents. That's one of my first things. Yeah, there's somebody posting on, the Book of Face that they can prepare documents. And I said, I didn't know you could do that.
Well,
said,
maybe did they indicate they were an independent legal assistant or paralegal?
Nope. They just said that they're a notary, but they're just preparing the documents, but they're not notarizing them.
Yeah, notaries are not allowed to prepare the documents unless they have either other credentials, such as independent legal assistant or legal document assistant, paralegal attorney, or they are an employee of that's true, Matt, unless they are in Louisiana. That's the one state that's different. So I don't know if they were from Louisiana.
This is Florida.
Okay, so it was in Florida, so then that doesn't apply. Or when they are a W-2 person who works in a company and it is their job to prepare documents.
She's
Right,
saying
so
she has
those are
a
the
document preparation business, and she just
Okay.
can't notarize the same documents that she's preparing. And I said, ma'am, that just doesn't sound right.
Okay, I cannot. I'm giving you all the things that I know, and so I cannot speak to what her advertising is saying.
Okay. Next, sideways, because it took me forever. Sideways stamps.
Yeah.
I've got an embosser and I never could figure out how to get it up here in the middle of the page. So you just take a pen and you roll it up like that.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
And
then you can get it in there.
Then you can slide it in there and then it's straight up and down. But it took me 4 years to figure that out, how to get up to the middle of the page where that stupid thing is. So it might be in the middle of the page.
Okay.
So you just roll it
Lisa?
up. You
Beautiful.
roll it up and slide it up underneath.
Yeah.
But I
Thanks
do
for
that all
that
the time.
tip. Thanks for that tip. You got anything else?
That's enough.
All right. Good job. I hope everybody saw her do that. All right. Let's see. Why, Jessica in California.
Hi, yes, I have a question. I had a mistake. Well, I accidentally put 2022 for my expiration of my
Of your
my notary, my commission. Yes,
Mhm.
I put 2022 instead of 2025, and so they came back and they told me to correct it, just rescan it and send it back. And then I get an email, I think it was NNA, stating that in California, you're supposed to, if it's your notary certificate, you have to go back to the person. At the time, I didn't know this. So when is it okay to just correct it and scan it back? And when do you need to go back to the person to get it notarized?
Yeah, easy answer, Jessica. It's never okay in California until we get a new law that tells us it is. Because our administrative rules from our Secretary of State is telling us there's no provisions in our laws to give us direction on how to do that. So until we have that in hand, and spoiler alert, we think that's going to be coming this year. Until that time, we have to go back to the signer.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I know now. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's see, Kornika.
This actually isn't a question for me. Somebody had written it in the chat and I don't think we had gotten it answered, but their sound is not working. They are in New Jersey. They were asked to witness a, what were they asked to witness? I'm trying to find it in the chat. what are those things at the bank? A safe deposit box, and wonder, has anybody done it, for what to do about it? I answered in the chat. I'm in Florida, so I don't know what the rules are in New Jersey, but notaries can inventory and watch the drilling of boxes here in Florida. But I didn't know if somebody else had more information on New Jersey.
All right, if anybody is on the call that's New Jersey, then please, and it would be in your statutes, because it's California, we can watch the opening of safe deposit box as well. Who am I working on right now? North Carolina, they can do it as well. So there's certain states that allow for a notary to be one of the selection of people who they could use. I don't know without looking it up if that is a statute in New Jersey. So that's where I'd go first, is to find out if you're allowed to do that as a notary. And then if you are, it should say right in the statute what the requirements are. That would be the next part. You know, is there a certificate to create? Do I have to witness it happening? What other things am I responsible for if I'm witnessing a safe deposit box? But I'm assuming if it didn't get answered in the chat, there isn't anybody on the call today who's done it in New Jersey. Okay, Sharon said you can be a witness to the bank opening. Sharon, do you have anything else to share? Have you done it? If you've done it yourself, unmute yourself and tell us about it. Are you unmuting? Sharon? Okay, well, that's all the information then that we can give so far. Is it Keisha?
Hello.
Oh, Sharon, you unmuted. All right, Sharon, what do you have to say about
I'm
that?
unmuted. Yes, yes, I have done witnessing the bank. What you have to do, you have to be there when they open up the deposit box, and you have to record everything that they're taking out. And then at the end, after they're done, you just notarize the document paper with everything that was in the box that you witnessed.
Okay, and so do you know if there is any kind of fee in the statute for doing that?
I
Regulated?
was hired by Bank of America, and they were charging me by the hour.
Okay, by the hour. Okay, so that tells me it's probably not regulated. Thank you for sharing that, Sharon.
You're welcome.
Let's go back to, is it Keisha?
Hi, Laura. It's Keisha Laviscount from North Carolina. I just had a brief question as regards to general notary work.
Okay.
I was going to start doing POAs. And my question is, do we inform the principal signer when we're completing the POA that certain witnesses are unacceptable, such as like the family members, employees of the facility, or patients, or do we just inform them that they need 2 witnesses?
So 2 things I want to tell you. One is I would let them know that they need to follow the instructions on their document as to who is qualified. Because there are different versions of powers of attorney, and they may have different qualifications based on that. Powers of attorney for financial are different than powers of attorney for medical. So my thought would be, if they didn't share the document with me first, I'm going to direct them to what are the instructions for your witnesses so that they are qualified. The second thing I want to tell you is that, I don't know if you heard me earlier in the call, but did you hear me say $5 is all you can make?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I just want to make sure, and that's fine, because some people do it as just part of a bigger part of their business. But I just wanted to make sure you knew you can't charge travel on that. Okay. Are you good?
Yes, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. KC Sutton, what state are you in? Unmute yourself first. KC going once. All right, KC, if you figure it out, I'll come back to you and see if you can get yourself unmuted. Deborah, I don't know, did you raise your hand again?
I did. I just had another comment too. I don't know if this is happening to other people. And I recognize it because I'm new, so I don't have as much business as probably most of you. But in the last couple of weeks, I've had two things purporting, two emails going to my business email account purporting to be loan documents that I'm working on with alleged file numbers. And I have just put a check mark by it and reported it and blocked it because I knew that I wasn't doing any business with either of those people. But is that happening to others?
It has happened to me, not recently actually, but I have gotten those kind of emails. The other kind of email I've gotten is where they say they're an escrow officer and they've got a file and, you know, what would you charge to do this, that, and the other thing? Then you give them a quote and then they want you to click on a link to provide information. And they are not who they say they are. They don't work for that escrow company. And so you do have to, you know, pay attention to the email address. If they state the company they're working for, contact that company if you're not familiar with them to verify that. But I have had it happen, just not particularly recently. But you're doing the right thing. Block it. We don't want to continue getting that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, and Laura, on my YouTube channel, I can't even remember the name of the video I called it, but I did a video about that.
Great.
Yeah, there's a video out there. I'm gonna look it up and I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
How to identify those in the email and all of that. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Derek.
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
I hear you, Derek. What you got?
All right, I'm out of Louisville, Kentucky, and
Kentucky.
I've been called here most recently for I-9 verifications. I know that if I'm not affixing my my logo, my stamp to a document, then it's not a notarization. But I'm not sure. You know, I really want to do this because it's pretty good money. I mean, they're offering like $200 per process for the I-9 verifications. And I was like, wow, this is, you know, is this something I can do? How do I, you know, do they have to authorize me as a representative in order for me to do those notarizations for I-9?
So first thing I'm going to tell you is $200. Wow. I hope that's real because I've not heard of people making $200 to do an I-9 form, which does not require a notarization, but
Right.
perhaps that's true. The second thing is I'm not allowed to do that in my state. So I don't have experience really other than when I used to do it. And it was like a $35, $50 job because it was just a few pages long. You're verifying identification and you're signing as the authorized representative of whoever that employer is. So
Right.
are you using a service? I mean, where did you get the offer, the number for that?
Well, the offer is you sign up with different agencies and they call you for loan signings and things like that. And one of them happened to be an I-9 verification. And it was a digital I-9 verification, something I hadn't seen before. So they would email it to me and I would basically just populate, you know, and verify the documents that were emailed to me through that platform and go from there. And then I realized, I told the lady, I don't think I can do this. So I turned it down just for rather being safe than sorry, even though the money sounded pretty good. So I wanted more information before I told her I could, you know, I could do that. And so they looked me up online actually and saw my information here in Louisville and, you know, and said, hey, you know, we want to present this to you. Can you do this? So I told them I didn't know and I'd rather be safe than sorry and create a problem for them or myself. And and I couldn't put my stamp. So they wanted me to, you know, I said, unless it has a space for me to somewhere to actually, you know, and I am a remote and e-notary here in Louisville, but I just didn't want to take that chance. But I see that it seems to be a profitable thing. And I'm like, wow, I could sit in the office all day and scan documents.
Well, here's the thing, Derek. I would have to look at an I-9 form because I haven't looked at one in quite some time. But when I did them, I met in person and the person handed me their cards and then I verified them. I looked at them and that's part of it. It sounded like they were just sending you stuff and then you were going to populate stuff and send it back. You never met with anybody? I mean, they
Um,
didn't ask you to meet with anybody?
No, it was digital. It was, I talked to the lady on the phone who was actually having to have it for her employer. And then their employer took my email and sent it to me
Right.
as the caretaker of that particular thing. But it was just too many questions at the time, and I just didn't want to risk it, so
Right.
I
wish
till I
I
knew more
could-
about it.
So I wish I
Well-
could say more about that because I don't really have enough experience. Does anybody on the
Laura?
call?
Can I chime in?
Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, I do a lot of, I'm up here in Beaverton, Oregon, and we have Nike and Intel up here. And I do a lot of these. And the two keys, first of all, you need to have the instructions from the HR company that they're trying to get hired with, because they're going to tell you what your role is. For those two companies, my role is that I'm an authorized representative, so that's how I sign. And you got to make sure your state does it, because only about half of them allow you to do it. Thankfully, in Oregon, I do. If I drive across the river to Washington, I can't. So it's going to be state by state on that also. They will call me into, Nike will call me into their campus, and I will do half a dozen of them. And I charge them $20 a piece. But Laura's absolutely right. You have to be face to face. It's a notarization that's done face to face. If they want them done remotely, maybe somebody in the state will do them. I won't. I'm not the notary for them if that's what they need. But it's a good business to get into, and if you do them right, your phone will just keep ringing on these.
Nice.
So it's really good business to do. And I charge 20 to $50. 20. If I go in and get a bunch of them, I'll do them for $20 a piece. But if they have to come to me or they're one at a time, it's somewhere in that range.
Thank you. I didn't know what to charge. They offered me the price, and I was like, 200? What?
That just may not be the norm, I guess is what I'm
Right.
saying.
I'd be nervous at 200, to be honest with you.
I'd say something sounds not right. I would say $50 is a good one, a good amount of money. It's not a very difficult thing. And unless they provide a place for that person to sign it somewhere so that it could be notarized, it's not notarized. So it has to be set up right. So please, you're right to be very careful about it. But yes, there are people doing it remotely, because we can notarize even remotely.
Can I chime in?
Okay. Who is saying, who wants
Paula.
to chime?
Paula?
Paula?
Yeah.
Okay, the pictures keep, there you are, Paula. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, the
This is
thing
gonna be our
is,
last one. Go ahead.
yeah, I think that, Derek, yeah, it's scam, Derek. There was no way $200 for what we do for
No.
I-9. They do like $20, and then they have on their email, they'll ask you for an alternate if you want more money, and it goes up to like $30, $40. But you don't, there's no way they do 200, and they don't ask a lot of questions. So I think you almost got scammed. So yeah, just beware. No one's going to pay 200 for I-9 in person.
I just,
And that's in
doesn't sound
Arizona.
right. All right, thanks, Paula. And even when I was doing them in California, it was $25, $35. I mean, really, that was it. All right, so that was the last one we could take, because it's now 1:02. So we are going to be closing up the hour. I have some thank yous to make. One, Matt, thank you for staying on top of the chat, because I'm not able to watch the chat. If you ask me a question in chat, I did not see it because I cannot manage participants in chat. Also, a special thank you for Griff for joining me today and fielding questions last minute like that. I so appreciate you're willing to jump on with us. And did you have an opportunity to find that YouTube video?
Yep, I did. I found there's two of them, and I
Okay.
posted both of them in there.
So you guys, you can save the chat by using those three little buttons if you're on a laptop. And then you can capture all those links if you want. I'm sorry, Griff, did I cut you off? Did you have something else you wanted to say? Thanks again for joining us. Everybody else who's on the call today, thank you for joining us. Next Tuesday, it will be back to Bill and myself. And I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for joining us today. Bye.